Tonight feels different. I have delivered many messages throughout my time. I have sat with those who were broken and searching, with people who came to me carrying emotions they could not even describe. I have heard confessions that took decades to surface. I have watched individuals circle around the truth for years before finally standing face to face with it. I understand patience. I have built my life around waiting for the right moment, but tonight I can no longer wait, because something is unfolding right now within the person you have been trying so hard not to think about. And if you do not hear this tonight, you will spend another week, another month, another season misinterpreting the silence, turning it into the wrong meaning and allowing it to tell you a story that is not true. And the cost of that, just one more day living inside the wrong story, is something I am no longer willing to let you carry. So I am here tonight with a message that has been waiting for you. Stay with me. Every second of what follows is meant for you. This is the 4th second. If you are new here, you were meant to find this channel tonight. Subscribe. Every message here is something the ordinary world does not easily understand or know how to deliver. Type "I'm here" in the comments right now. Just these 2 words. Because what I am about to share requires your full attention. I need to know you are present with me. I want to begin with something I have observed. Not as a theory, but as a clear observation. Something I have seen unfold over many years and across many lives until the pattern became undeniable. Until I understood that what I was witnessing was not coincidence, not simple psychology, but something that psychology is only beginning to find language for. There is a form of love that arrives without asking for permission. Not the kind of love that develops gradually. Not the kind of love that earns its place through time, trust, and the slow building of shared history. Not the love that you choose through careful judgment, full awareness, and logical evaluation of what is possible. I am not referring to that kind of love. I am referring to the other kind, the kind that does not consult you before it arrives. The kind that comes like weather. You did not invite it. You did not prepare for it. And by the time you recognize it, it has already arrived, and it is no longer easy to shut it out or close the space around it. The kind of love that settles itself not in the mind, which can be questioned or debated, but in the body, in the chest, in that specific place that does not respond to logic and does not negotiate with reason, and does not care about what you have already decided. It is the kind where you look at someone and something within you, something older than you, something that has existed longer than your own life, recognizes them. Not them as a person in a simple sense, not their credentials, their past, or the way they present themselves to the world. It recognizes them as something deeper, the essence beneath the person, the frequency they carry without even being aware of it. A distinct quality of being that your inner world was shaped to recognize, even from a distance, even across silence, even across years of separation and distance they may have placed between you. You understand exactly what I am referring to. You have understood it since the very first sentence. There is already a name forming in your chest. Do not say it yet. Simply allow it to exist there. Let it remain in your chest while I explain what I understand about them. I know that they think about you at the wrong times, times they did not choose, but times that choose them instead. The 3 Clyde a.m. hours, just before sleep, when the mind becomes quiet and what is real becomes unavoidable. The ordinary Tuesday afternoon when nothing significant is happening, and yet you still appear in the space between one moment and the next, as clear and present as if you were physically there in the room. I know that they have started messages to you more times than they have actually sent them. Words have been written and erased again and again. forming and dissolving in the space of unsent drafts, like a record of thoughts that were never strong enough to become action. There exists a version of what they wanted to say to you that has been rewritten in many forms, more times than they would ever admit or even try to count. And each time, without exception, something prevented it from being sent. Not indifference, never indifference. It is the opposite of indifference, something so intense that it turns into hesitation and emotional paralysis. I know they have spoken your name in places where you were not present, not to describe you, not to explain you, but in the way people speak the name of something that does not stay confined where it is placed. And I know this with the certainty of someone who has studied the depth of human emotion over many years. They are not free. Wherever they are tonight, whatever they are doing, whatever ordinary version of life they are currently living, they are not free. They have not moved on to something better or clearer. They have arrived at a point where they must invest a significant amount of energy every single day just to maintain one thing: distance. That distance has a cost, and it is higher than what they originally planned for when they created it. And now, that emotional budget is slowly running out. I want you to do something right now. Take whatever is closest to you, your phone, a cup, or any solid object, and hold it with both hands. Notice its weight. That physical sensation in your palms is what I am referring to. This is not a metaphor or an abstract feeling. It is weight. What you are carrying in relation to this person has a kind of mass. It is not imagination. It is not something created simply because there was nothing else to hold on to. It is real and it is heavy, and you have been carrying it for longer than most people who have never experienced it would be able to understand. Now put that object down. I want to speak about the night when everything almost changed, because there is always one such night. A specific moment that appears ordinary on the surface, yet holds the potential of an entirely different outcome. A night that nearly shifted into something else, and now exists in the space between what happened and what could have happened, preserved in the memory of the almost. You may already recognize which night I am referring to. You may have been present in it, the ordinary evening that felt charged, the moment when the atmosphere between you subtly changed, and when what was unspoken came very close to being expressed. They were present in that moment, fully aware of it, feeling it exactly as you did. In that brief state, they were closer to saying the real truth than they had been before or have been since. Then, within a single breath, in the space between one heartbeat and the next, they allowed that moment to pass. They chose the safer response, the lighter sentence, the casual redirection, the version of themselves that did not require full honesty or complete admission. And in that instant you felt the shift, you felt the door close. Even if nothing physically changed, even if the conversation continued and the evening carried on normally, nothing outwardly signaling a difference, you still felt it. Because with this person, you always sense it. The connection between you operates beneath spoken language, below the surface of words. That night exists within both of you, but in different forms and with different emotional weight on each side of that unseen door. Yet it still exists. Type "I remember" in the comments if there is a night like that for you. If you know exactly which moment it was. If that almost is something you still carry in the place where answers usually remain. Just 2 words, because that feeling should not remain carried alone any longer. I want to give you the message now, the one that cannot wait. Not my message, not an interpretation, not a translation, and not a second-hand version of something observed from the outside. This is the message from them, from the version of them that exists at the threshold, the version that is not protected by distance, performance, or the narrative constructed to make separation easier to live with, the one that speaks in the hours they are unable to edit or control. This is what remains true on their side of the silence tonight. I don't know how to do this. I have been searching for the beginning of this for so long that the act of searching itself has become its own form of existence. I live inside the searching. I wake up within it. I move through the day inside it. I fall asleep still inside it. And yet the searching never resolves into anything final. It only continues. Searching without arrival, reaching without sending. Forming messages and deleting them, forming again and deleting again until the phone returns to the pocket and another day passes. In this way, distance is preserved through yet another full cycle of time. I need to explain what happened to me when I met you. Not what I said or what I did, but what actually happened beneath those actions, the underlying experience that was the only thing that ever felt real. I had been living within a version of myself for a long time. Not a false version, not exactly a performance, but a version that simply fit. A version that matched the spaces I moved through, that was appropriately sized for the environments I existed in, and that knew how to respond adequately to whatever each moment required. I was not unhappy within that version of myself. I had learned its limits, its shape, its boundaries. I moved through it without resistance. I was adequate within it. I was sufficient. And then you entered the space. And the version of me that was sufficient suddenly stopped being enough in a way I had no structure prepared to handle. Not because of anything you actively did, but because of what took place within me. Something that had been tuned to a fixed frequency for a long time encountered your frequency and shifted automatically, without permission, without consulting the part of me that keeps track of consequences or costs. The adjustment was not deliberate. It was immediate and internal, like a compass naturally turning toward north, not as a choice, but as a response. Chapter 5. The message from their side of the silence. Chapter 6. The truth the distance was hiding all along. If there is a space within you, beneath the doubt, beneath the fatigue, and beneath the practical voice that tells you to stop waiting. If beneath all of that there is something that simply knows, then write those words. Because that sense of knowing deserves to exist outside of you tonight. Now I need to speak to you, not to them, and not about them, but directly to you. To the woman who has been carrying this, who has been living inside this silence, and still finding ways to continue her life around it. The one who wakes up each morning, handles what must be done, shows up where she is expected, and keeps the ordinary world functioning, all while holding something in her chest that has no name in everyday language and does not fit into normal life. Yet it refuses, under any condition, to be put down. I want to acknowledge what this has required of you, because I do not think you fully recognize it. I do not think you have named it correctly. You may have called it waiting. You may have called it not being over it. On difficult days, you may have even called it weakness. You may have looked back at who you were before this love entered your life and felt like you were failing to return to that earlier version of yourself. But you are not failing to return to her. You cannot return to her. She no longer exists in that form. Not because this love broke you, but because it expanded you. Because it opened spaces within you that were previously closed. Because it turned on parts of your inner world that had been dark for a long time. You had simply become used to that darkness without noticing it anymore. Those spaces are open now. Those lights are on. And you are living as a version of yourself that is broader, more refined, more honest, and more capable of genuine love than the version that existed before this person entered your life. That is not a consolation, and it is not being offered as a replacement for what you actually want. It is, instead, the effect this love came here to create. It is what the so-called soul's chosen mirror does when it reaches the person it was intended for. It does not leave them unchanged. It cannot leave them unchanged. And this change does not depend on the story ending in the way you expected or imagined. The transformation is already complete. You once moved through your days in a controlled, measured smallness. Not unhappy, just carefully adjusted. Living at a level of expression that had been decided as appropriate. Wanting only what had been defined as reasonable. Loving only within what had been accepted as safe. That version of you has shifted. You also used to allow other people's inconsistencies to define your sense of worth. You would interpret their distance as something meaningful about you, and you would internalize their fear as if it reflected your own inadequacy. You have stopped doing that. You used to require certainty about the outcome before you allowed yourself to fully feel. You would wait for guarantees before making any emotional investment, managing your desire in such a controlled way that it never truly had the chance to cost you anything. You have now stopped doing that. This love has made you brave in ways you are still discovering. It has made you honest in ways that cannot be undone. It has made you someone who understands, from lived experience rather than theory, what it means to love something real at full intensity, without editing, without control, without managing the expression of it. And that understanding is now permanent. No distance can remove it, no silence can rewrite it, and no outcome can change what you have already become. If you recognize yourself in this, type "This is me" in the comments. If you know you are no longer the same person you once were, that something within you has been permanently opened by this love, and that you have been living in this expanded version while calling it suffering when in fact it has been transformation, then let those words belong to you. Now I want to name what this is, because anything truly real deserves a name. What you have been experiencing, what this person's presence initiated within you, what this love has been activating since the moment recognition began, I call it the mirror wound. Not because it is harmful, but because it is precise. Because what the soul's chosen mirror does is reveal you with complete accuracy, without filtering, without softening. It shows the exact shape of what in you has been waiting to be seen. The wound that found this person's face as its expression, the longing that used their frequency as its voice, the version of you that could only be activated through this exact combination of person, timing, and connection. The mirror wound does not heal by removing the mirror. It heals when you finally see what it is reflecting clearly enough to accept it as your own. What it has been showing you is yourself in full form. The version that loves deeply and completely, the one capable of this level of emotional depth, the one that understands the difference between what is real and what is merely sufficient. It is the version of you that, now that it has been awakened for this long, will no longer agree to return to sleep. That is where healing actually occurs. Not in their return, and not in the story resolving as expected, but in claiming what you have seen in the mirror. It is the decision to embody the version of yourself that this love has activated, permanently, regardless of how the external story unfolds. There is also a number that has been appearing, not every day, but on the days when something internally shifted, on the days when the connection felt unexpectedly open, and you experience their presence with unusual clarity in the space between one ordinary moment and the next. On those days, if you have been observant, there has often been a number, 444. 4 represents what is built to endure. foundations, structures, and things that cannot easily be undone because they were established too deeply and too gradually to be removed. 3 fours together point to a deeper structure speaking. It reflects the unseen process of everything this love has built within you, signaling that it is stable, that it holds, and that it continues forward, not just today, but in every upcoming version of your life. When you notice 444 on a clock, a receipt, or in a small and otherwise ordinary moment of the day, let it serve as a reminder of this experience. A reminder of tonight, of the message that finally reached you, and of the moment you felt a shift within yourself and understood that the distance was never a reflection of your worth. The shift you felt tonight was real. Let me conclude with this. I have shared many messages and sat with many individuals at the threshold of understanding something that would change them. And over time, across all those experiences, late hours, personal confessions, and moments when something once closed began to open, I have learned one consistent truth. I have learned that the people who carry the heaviest emotional weight are rarely the ones who misunderstood the situation. They are the ones who felt it with the greatest accuracy, who recognized the truth of what existed between them before anyone else was prepared to acknowledge it. They carry a level of sensitivity, precision, and often a difficult awareness that allows them to know something before it becomes safe to name. You felt it first, you held it the longest, and you carried it with the most honesty. And yet you are still here, watching this video, listening to this voice, at a moment when something within the story is beginning to shift. When what once felt stable is no longer fully stable. When the structure of distance is starting to weaken under its own weight. When the person who created that distance is slowly, quietly, and privately beginning to recognize its cost. You were never incorrect about what this was. You were not wrong at any point. The mirror wound does not select its person randomly. It chose you because you were capable of what it required, capable of holding this level of emotion, capable of sustaining it over time, capable of reaching this moment still whole, still aware, still carrying the full reality of what is true, without reducing it into something easier, smaller, or less honest. That is not ordinary. That is not something found in every person or every life. That is rare, and it belongs to you. Maybe this story unfolds exactly the way you once imagined. Maybe the breaking within the wall becomes the opening, and what was once held back finally reaches you in the form you had always envisioned. Or maybe the story ends in a way neither of you could have predicted. Something that could not have been designed from the position you are in tonight. Something that requires this exact duration of holding, this level of inner change, and this specific version of you that only exists on the far side of everything this love has brought you through. Either way, the mirror wound chose correctly when it chose you. The love was real, and what is real does not disappear with time. You are being seen tonight, in this channel, in this voice that exists precisely for the place you are in right now. In the simple fact that something guided you here, at this moment, to this message, with the exact readiness needed to understand it. You are not alone in this. Type "I receive it" in the comments. Just those 3 words, not for me, but for the part of you that has been waiting for permission. Permission to recognize that what you felt was real, that it was never a mistake, that carrying it was never a weakness, and that you were right from the beginning. Let those words exist in the world tonight. Let them belong to you. I will see you in the next video.